Okay. Okay. Where is the sound coming from? Oh, wait, I know where it's coming from. Where is the sound coming from? I don't know how to stream. Okay, wait a sec. I'm gonna post this on the tension forums really quick. Actually, I'm gonna restart it so it. Okay, so it's posted. It's up. Like 5 people watching. I feel like this is it's gonna be weird. But I just need to get it out. Um, so I I get there. I'm still like looking at my phone because for some reason 2 missed calls, and I'm pretty sure it's from the OOA. Okay, wait a sec. Gotta let my cat out. Okay, go on, Carl. Carl, you're gonna whine. Get out. Well, okay, sorry about that. So anyway, I get to the parking lot, and it was the pretty normal experience. Everybody is getting there. We're all kind of together. Just everybody's talking. I was the only returning person, even for like there were no second or third timers. Ooh, that was weird. Um, So, um, I noticed, like, before the van came by, a car came in, and I looked over, and I thought, I thought it looked familiar, and it was, I thought it looked like Samson. Like, I immediately, as soon as from, like, the side of the window, like, I saw him, I'm like, is that Samson? Coming into the parking lot. So, he came into the parking lot, and he was actually parked on, like, the other side, and, I talked to the attendant because I kept going over like, am I supposed to look? Why is he over there? Because he turned his lights off. Um, and he's like, oh no, that's somebody from the next group. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Um, I stuck it out. So then the van gets there, and the van, they didn't have paper for me. Like they went through all the names. I wasn't there, and there was someone else who wasn't there, but on the paperwork. God, I'm rambling. But I do need to get it out. So they didn't have my paperwork. They just gave me a blank paper and told me to just. Hello? Yes? Who is this? Yes, that's. Are you watching me? Are you watching me? Wait. No. Who has will? With turpentine? Okay, I'm sorry. Rei Goldstein with turpentine French tea. I will cut it out. Oh, I will set you free. Talking about tension, and it's not even a call related to tension. But that was, that was, no! Taylor, you're watching. So I'm trying to, like, talk about tension, and suddenly, no, it was Sawman. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is this? No, it was Sawman trying to call me. It's not tension, no. Okay, I'm, like, going, like, oh my god, all these freaking things. That is from Have You Seen Jake? It's another game. God, okay. Let me get back on track. Okay, so, the van comes up, don't have my paperwork, so that's creepy, he told me to shimmy, because he was watching me. Um, so, I go in the van, put the hood on and stuff, and suddenly the guy gets in the van, and they start to move, and then they stop, and, the guy is, like, talking on the radio, and he says something like, are you sure? It's like, okay. And so he goes out, opens the door, goes, Julie, get out! And I get out, and he says, just stay here. And then the van just drives off. And I'm still there in the parking lot. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I still notice the car in the back, and I'm like, is that Samson? I swear to God, that's Samson back there. And so finally, like, his lights start going off. And I look at the attendant, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to go over there. So I start walking over there, and I notice the door opens, and it is Samson. And he says, do you know who I am? And I said, yes. He's like, get in the car. So I get in the car, and at first I started asking him a lot of questions. Like, I didn't know if I was supposed to be asking him stuff. I told him that I saw the periscope. It's a creepy light in the background. I told him I saw the periscope from earlier, and I asked him like if he was trying to tell us something, if he wanted us to keep asking questions, and he's like, no, no. And he was quiet for most of it. Like I tried asking him more questions, and I told him at one point, I asked him, um, "Are you trying to divide us? Is that what you're trying to do?" Because there's been a lot of talk from the Periscope about the purpose of it, and is he trying to divide us? Um, and I was like visibly nervous. I don't think I was actually nervous. It's just as an actor, like certain things trigger emotions for me. Um, and so I think I was giving like the physical signs, and he at one point looks over to me and goes, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "No, I'm okay. It's fine." And he drove like all the way out to like the freeway, and it's not at the freeway at all. Like it's all the way on the other side. So then suddenly he stops. He's talking to somebody on the phone, and he turns around, and we go back to the compound, to the OOA. And I knew, like, I saw exactly where the OOA was and everything. It was so weird just driving up there, and it was actually kind of a little creepy, because as we were pulling up, there was a fire truck coming in, and they stopped, and I think the fire truck was real. I don't know where the lines blur. But then, so the fire truck, like somebody gets out, and like, okay, it goes off. Anyway, so then Samson goes to the door, opens the door, and immediately as soon as I walk in, the girl who was there, who opened the door, like immediately starts looking at the wall, which is typical of what we know about how people act when Samson is around, in the OOA. So Samson walks me through the the lobby, the waiting room, through the changing room, and I'm noticing like as we're walking through all these places, like everybody Ellis was just staring at the wall, as Samson is going through, and so he takes me through a corridor, and um, and uh, and then he stops after we'd been walking for a while, and he turns over, and I look over, and there's Addison with the hood, with the helmet over her head. Now's when I'm getting to the interesting part, okay? So pay attention! Um, so Addison had the red helmet over her head, and there were probably 6 handlers around her, and Samson looks at me and goes, "You're here for her, aren't you?" I'm like, okay. So I walk up to Addison, and I didn't know if because I have thing with, as a performer, boundaries. So I didn't know if I was supposed to take it off, and so I looked at one of the handler girls, and I was like, "Can I take it off, please?" And she gives me the okay, so I'm like, "Okay, I take it off," and immediately she starts crying, like really crying, and so I bend down, and I'm like, I told her, "You're more powerful than Samson." Like I feel like I have faith in her, and I have faith in Anok, because I've seen her power, and I told her various times, "I have faith in you. You're more powerful than he is. Don't worry." And after she stops crying, she just looks at me and says, "Hi, I'm Addison." And I was like, okay. And so then she gives me this deep embrace, and starts crying again. And that was the point where I'm like, well, I need to try something. And so I told her, because I was holding her, and I said, "I don't know if this is going to help, but Carlos." And when I said that, it's almost like she reset again. Um, because after I said that, she kind of pulled back, and I was like, "What's going on?" And then she just looks at me again and goes, "Hi, my name is Addison." Um, and she reset probably a couple times, as I was there, and I didn't know what to tell her. I just kept trying to tell her, "I have faith in you. We all have faith in you. You're stronger than he is. We know your power." Um, and then after a couple of times of resetting, Samson comes over and says, take her to processing. And so a couple of the handler girls grab Addison and go away. And so then I'm left there for a second. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And Samson grabs me and yes. So, oh no, 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 it wasn't Samson. So Samson was actually, let me retrace a bit. So I'm having this entire breakdown with Addison. I hear the Samson say, take her to processing. The handler girls, a couple of the handler girls grab her and take her away. And then I notice I look around and Samson wasn't there. And then a couple of the handler girls, somewhere about this, Samson said, take her to processing, and first talking about Addison, and then take her to processing, talking about me. But when they picked me up and I was taken into processing, Samson was no longer there. So walk back down, go down the corridor, and they take me back to the processing room. And for a second, I felt like, oh, okay, is this just kind of, am I going to go back through this process again? Because it took me to the processing room, and Simon looks at me and goes, he gives me that, what the F are you doing back here sort of thing. And then, like, immediately, like, I couldn't even say anything to Simon. He suddenly yells, everybody face the wall. And Samson comes up, and Samson grabs me, and I didn't notice it until this point, but he starts dragging me to the other side of the processing room, and I noticed that in the middle table, Addison is sitting there, but not in the processor area. She's being processed. And Samson takes me to the other side and sits me where the interviewer would go. Uh, and uh, I believe this is where it's kind of getting hazy, and you'll understand why. So I believe Samson said something like, "Do you know her?" And I said yes. So at some point, this didn't last very long after Samson sat me in the chair and I'm looking across from Madison. And I think, again, throughout this entire thing, I just kept reiterating how I have faith in her, how I believe in her. You know, I do. I do. I have faith in her power. Um, then at some point, this all happened like really quick. So I'm describing this, but it really happened quick. Somebody else entered the room, dressed in a suit sort of like Samson's, but it wasn't Samson. And immediately, I saw him from like coming from the back, and for a second, I kind of was like squinting. I'm like, who is this? Is this somebody that we know? For a second, I thought it was Tom Barrow. I don't know why, but it's like, no, he was a lot younger. Um, and so he comes up to where I'm sitting across from Madison, and he looks at me. Oh no, first he points at Samson and goes, "This is your fault. This is your fault. You did this." And I could tell like he had power over Samson. He was higher than Samson. But then he comes over to me and tells me to ask Addison who she is. And so I ask her, it's like, who are you? And she looks at me and she goes, "Hi, I'm Sabrina Kern." The guy was very pissed off about that, smacked his hand against the table, and then grabbed Addison and started shaking her. And it's like, that's the wrong answer. It was something along the lines of, that's the wrong answer. No, that's bad. Who are you? No. Then he says, he kept trying to, it went between asking Addison, like, who she is and where she knows me from. And at one point she said something like, "Oh, do I know you from one of Mark's parties?" And I kind of just looked at her, and there was another point where I said, or again, she was being asked, or he was asking me to ask her who she is. And at one point she said something like, "Oh, I don't know, I just became a gatekeeper a couple days ago." So it's like her brain was going like back and forth. Um, like she didn't know if she was overseer or she was gatekeeper or she was Addison. Like that's kind of the sense that I got from it, is that every time um, I was asking her who she is, she kept jumping back, and it kept making the second OSDM guy very pissed off. And finally, he starts yelling at Samson, "You did this. This is your fault." Then looks at me, comes straight up to my face, and goes, "This is your fault. You did this. This is your fault." Pointing to like what's happening with Addison. And he tries to tell Samson to find out at what point Addison broke. He doesn't know at what point Addison broke. Um, and then he also mentioned something like about me, because it was my third time. Um, she's been here 3 times. We've already processed her emotions. We've already processed her reactions. The job is done. Um, which is really weird, because I think I've heard somebody else say something about this is all about measuring our reactions. And so he alluded to the fact that my reaction or my emotion has already been measured. Um, but then after that entire exchange, Samson grabs me and starts taking me out, gives me to 2 of the handler girls. This is kind of about, we're going to the bottom point here. Um, gives me to the handler girls, and the handler girls take me over to Professor Appleby's uh, classroom and sit me down. And they both look at me, that there were 2 of them, and they were like right side by side me. And they kept telling me, "Overseer is okay. She's going to be okay." And I again kept telling them, "I know. I have faith in her. I've seen what she can do. She's strong." And I think I tried to impart that as I was being taken away from her in the processing room. Um, I just kept saying, "I believe in you. We all believe in you, and we will not be divided." I'm pretty sure that's what I left her with as I was kind of getting taken out. And so the handler girls, as we're sitting in Professor Appleby's classroom, they start telling me she's going to be okay. She's okay. And I think at one point I looked at least one or both of them, and I said, "Please take care of her. Just take care of her." And then after a couple, this lasted probably like a minute or two, and it felt like it was going on forever. One of the handler girls says, "A van will bring you. We'll be here for you soon." Um, then another handler girl comes and grabs me, takes me out to the van, and that's where I got loaded up. And I was kind of going through like all this because of what I just witnessed. Um, okay. So going back to when when um, when I was sitting across from Addison and we were going over all this stuff, and I was trying to ask her, this is kind of where a lot of it blurs into each other, because I think the point of me being there was that sequence. I think I was meant to see that I don't know if where she is. Like, was she Sabrina, became Addison, became gatekeeper, overseer, or but at one point where we were talking, she was saying, no, let me go back. OSDM number 2 guy asks her, "Where do you know her from?" And so I think she kept reverting to Sabrina. I couldn't tell if it was Sabrina or Addison, because she said, "Oh, don't I know? Weren't you extra? Were you crew? Was it a shoot?" Um, like I couldn't tell like where she was, and that was it. Like she kept jumping back, and I couldn't tell at any one point. Is she Sabrina? Is she Addison? Is she Overseer? Is she Gatekeeper? Um, but the OSDM guy really wanted to know when she broke. Um, so yeah, that was kind of the entire point of that, and it was very, um, it was very strange being across from it, but I, I don't know. I was just trying to process it all at the time. And then I got loaded up to the van and taken back to the parking lot. And the security guy said, Julie, and just so you know, you won't be charged for tonight. I'm like, oh, okay. It was like 20 minutes. Um, and then I got in my car and drove home. So, yeah. Um, I think it feels like the lines are a little blurred. I don't know what they want us to believe at this point. Um, I really don't, and I think that's kind of what I'm bringing. You know, you make your own conclusions. Um, I still have faith in Addison. I still have faith in Overseer. I still have faith in Anok. I know what I saw. I know I saw that Ascension. I know that Ascension succeeded, and we have a new Oracle. Um, but yeah, so I'm rambling. I'm gonna write this down and put it in there. If you stuck around, wow. Okay. Um, Glory be.